really podcasts are the greatest medium of all,
Until we got hold of it.
That's right, yeah.
Welcome to the Two Authors Chat Show, an entertaining podcast with two best-selling authors connecting readers with an eclectic array of distinguished guests through lively conversation and interviews. Hosted by mystery, suspense and thriller writers Douglas Pratt and Nicholas Harvey.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great week so far. How you been doing, Nick?
Fantabulous. We're in Bonaire. So I think, between the last show and now we moved, we were in Sint Maarten and had a great time there. We got to dive Sabre, which is a fantastic... If you look up in an encyclopedia a tropical Caribbean island, there should be a picture of Sabre. It's a volcano. So first of all, it's like this peak. It's tiny, and it's this peak that sticks out of the water. And the streets wind, like twist, and then they're only like a car's width and a half wide, and they all drive like loonies. And it switchbacks up the mountainside to these two little towns up there. Everything's got the red roof on it. All the architecture's the same. There's lots of old buildings up there. It is a super cool part of the world. So if you get a chance to go there, that was very cool.
A book there?
Some geezer called Nick Sullivan already wrote a book based out of there. If anyone reads his Deep series, yeah, he did a fantastic one. I think Deep Cut is the one that's based out of Sabre. So Hicknick, as the tropical authors refer to him, and I'm Britnick, he wrote one there. So I don't know, but I'm accumulating ideas and locations and stuff for future. I mean, my guys are basically based in the Cayman Islands, although I've ventured off of there occasionally. So I'm definitely, for sure, here, Bonaire. I'd like to, although that Sullivan character has already done a Bonaire, but I think there's room for more.
Maybe it could be one of the missing in the series that we're doing. We could do, because, we double up on Nick Sullivan, we can outdo him. So two of us together.
In fact, what we'll do is we'll go missing in every island that he's been to with a story, and we'll chase him. So we're going to have to do Bonaire, Sabre, Belize. That'd be fun.
We could kill him in every book, Just put the one character in there and just like have him killed every time.
Yeah. And just call him Nick Sullivan and kill him every time.
Yeah,
like he's reincarnated. Hi, Nick. Yeah, how you doing, mate?
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. I'm in Bonaire. What else has happened? Burning Summer was released.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You had a nice release.
The Nora book. Yep. Went pretty well. Thank you, everybody, for the great reception you gave Burning Summer. And then the Tropical Authors co-op that I did with Don Rich and Deborah Brown called Priceless, that came out. And it's done very well for itself. It's a novella, but it's actually a book. It's a full-length novel. It ended up being long enough to be a novel, so it's really good value. It's good fun.
That's right. Nicholas Harvey, the hardest working man out here.
Oh, I don't know about that, but thank you. I say yes too many times. I know that much.
How is Bonaire?
Bonaire is a beautiful place. We've been here a couple of times before, and now we're here for 4 months, so we'll really get the rhythm of the place of actually living here. But it's lovely, and it's a diver's paradise, which they coin as their phrase here. The underwater world here is just amazing, and it's all shore diving. You just walk right in and you're on a reef. So, you don't
That's pretty awesome.
Tread on the reef. You swim across the reef. Yeah. But, absolutely beautiful. So we've done been on several dives. We've run into people here. We ran into some friends of ours, Jean and Mary, who stayed in an RV in the RV park in Key Largo that we lived in. And he worked at Rainbow Reef Divers, where Cheryl worked for a year. And we'd go diving with all the time. I had lots of friends there. And we didn't know they were here. We just walked down the pier, and there's Mary. She's like, hello. We're like, oh, hello.
That's, wow.
Yeah, they were here with a big group.
Small world.
Yeah.
Very small world.
Very small world. So, we got to do some dives. I had a mega dive with Jean, actually. I slipped off one morning. I was a naughty boy and left work. And we went over the Hilma Hooker wreck here, which is a cool wreck. And we went a little deeper inside than you're supposed to go. And found the engine room.
What kind of wreck is it?
A shipwreck. I forget what it is. It's I think it was a freighter, because it's not particularly big. It's a couple 100 feet, but it's it's got two big holes in it. So it was a freighter, and it's on its side, so you can
that's cool
wheel down in the lower hold. We found our way into eventually the engine room, but we go in this one section and it's full of lobsters. And Gene's leading, and he's going ahead of me. And the lobster tentacles, I don't know, I need to look up what you call them bloody things, the little antenna. I guess they're antenna. That's probably what they're called, yes. Learn something new on this show, people, education. So the antenna, they're like tickling his arm and then tickling his tummy as he goes across. They're everywhere, and they're all reaching out in our light beams, It's like,
wow.
Yeah, it's like running the gauntlet between the lobsters.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But anyway, yeah, and then another couple of friends. I'm on the plane. Get this. I'm on the plane leaving Miami because we had to go St. Maarten, Miami overnight, and then Miami down to Bonaire. So about to leave Miami, and I just posted something on the dreaded Facebook and said, we're off to Bonaire. Someone posted back, this lady, Christy, who has followed on Facebook, and I recognize the name, Christy Hall, and she posted back, so are we. We're on the same flight. I'm like, oh, we're in, row 12. 2 minutes later, she obviously got the ping, and the lady in the row in front sort of stands up, looks around, goes, Nicholas? I'm like, oh, hello, Christy. So her and her husband, Chris, were on the same flight down here. They're staying at the same place we're staying. And we went diving with them the other night. So, which we had dinner with them, and we're going to go out again. So it's going well.
You know everybody then. Wow.
It's a very, very small world.
It's a very small world.
Yeah. And let's see, what else happened? Davin Goodwin, who's written a couple of books based in Bonaire, he was here. We crossed over for one evening, and we had a beer together. So it was nice saying hi to him.
Should have invited him on our show for us.
He was leaving the next day. Otherwise, we could have done something, yeah. But I got to tell you this story. So as you're listening to this, you can't see what we can see, but out this window is a beautiful Caribbean sea and the coastline of Bonaire. And one of the problems I had when we got here is the resort we're staying in has decent internet, but it's not good enough to do our podcast. So I started hunting around for somewhere we could record, or I could record. I'd sent out some emails, put something on some blog sites. I wasn't really getting anywhere. And on the island here, they've got this sort of coaxial, which is okay, but not great. And then there's a few spots that have fiber internet, which is fast. So we were struggling to find somewhere. And the other day, Saturday, Cheryl and I are walking through the little town here, Grandike, and we walked past this big open air kind of bar restaurant place, really caters to the tourists and cruise shippers and stuff. We walked by, and there's a long table set up with microphones all the way around it, and like a mixing board, and two guys sitting there. And so we're like, well, what's going on there? And I'm like, they look like people who might know places where you can record podcast type stuff. So they weren't actually recording anything at the time. So I sort of waved at them, and they said, oh, yeah, come on over. So I talked to them. Turns out this guy's two guys, Martin and Mikhail, if I've pronounced their Dutch names correctly there, from Mega Hit FM radio station, which is local radio station here.
Oh, wow.
And on Saturday mornings, they do a show, like a live show thing from this little bar restaurant. And they just finished and everything else. So I start chatting with these guys and tell them what I'm up to. And I'm like, any ideas of somewhere we might be able to record? And they start chatting away in Dutch, like picking each other's brains a little bit. And then one of them goes, well, wait a second. There's this guy over here. And the restaurant bar was kind of empty. It was kind of mid-morning, between breakfast, lunch. And they were done with the show. So there was only like two other people in this place. He goes, come and meet this guy. So we walk over, and he introduces me to this chap, David. He says, he might be able to help you. And then, Martin walks away and leaves me chatting with David. Turns out he runs this company called Boutique Bonaire, and they have like these small resorts. Like I think they got 5 of them so far. And they have a blanket managing company so instead of each little resort having to do all their own HR and IT and everything else, they spread it across one corporate thing. And that's what they do. So he's got this office in town. He says, just let me finish up with this chap I'm talking to, and we'll go take a look and see if it will work for you. So 5 minutes later, he walks Cheryl and I down up into the office, this beautiful office, lovely place, and super fast fiber internet in here. And he's like, okay, tell me when you need the room. And he just wrote it in his calendar, and that's it. I'm set up to come in here.
Yeah.
And super bloke. And that's, honestly, St. Maarten was this way. Sabre was even like small. Everybody knew everybody. And Bonaire is very much the same way. Is like if you talk to somebody, they're guaranteed to know somebody who's guaranteed to know somebody who will help you out. And everyone's super friendly and willing to help out. So, brilliant.
That's awesome.
So where have you been?
Well, let's see. I've been to Hawaii. My wife and I just got back about 2 weeks ago from a week in Hawaii, which was supposed to be for our 25th anniversary last year, but with the pandemic, it made it hard to book it. So we pushed it back to our 26th anniversary. So she and I just went. We spent a week in Waikiki, which was just phenomenal. I mean, enjoyed it. Did a lot of snorkeling. We ate at Duke's and, wandered around, had a lot of poke bowls. Had a great time. We rented a car, drove around, went to the Dole plantation. So we got to see little tiny pineapples. Yeah, that was kind of cool. And did you know, you talk about learning things on our podcast, how long it takes to grow one pineapple? It's like 18 months from the time it starts to the time you can harvest it.
Really?
And each plant only grows one pineapple. They'll grow it 3 times. So over the course of 3 18-month periods, you can get 3 pineapples out of it. But that's how long it takes to grow a pineapple. And I'm like, how the hell do they sell these things for 99 cents? I mean, you should be going for like $10, $12.
No kidding. Next time I look at a stack of pineapples in the store, I'm going to imagine how many trees that took.
I was like, that's crazy. Yeah, and the little bushes, they're not very big. So it's kind of neat. You can like look out through it. And of course, Dole had the pineapple ice cream, and you could buy pineapple juice, all sorts of stuff. We had pineapple ice cream at like 8 o'clock in the morning, because why wouldn't you when you're in Hawaii, right? So
absolutely.
So we toured around. We went to the North Shore. We watched the surfers. I didn't get out and surf, but sure. I mean, if I were there for a little bit longer, I wouldn't mind trying, giving that a try. The other really cool thing we did was we were driving around, and Ashley and I go places we like to experience as much as we can. So we jam pack, because we don't go for 4 months at a time like some people. So, so we try to squeeze it all in the 4 days. Yeah.
Many, many moons ago, I went to Hawaii and went to Waikiki. Actually, we stayed up near the North Shore. I was a youngster in my 20s, and I surfed a little bit, but I was terrible at it. So anyway, I had a boogie board, and I enjoy boogie boarding. So we're at the North Shore, and I'm like, I'm going out at the North Shore. So I paddle out on my boogie board. And of course, the waves don't look that big when you're on the beach. You get out there. And then I start getting to these waves, and they start crashing over me. And they felt like mountains breaking on me, right? Just crashing. And I'm like terrified now all of a sudden. And I'm paddling like crazy. And I fight for 20 minutes to get outside, where the waves are crashing.
Right.
There's a few surfers out there and stuff. And they're all hanging out looking at me like, what are you doing out here, you idiot? Which they were correct. What was I doing? So, and now I've got this problem. I'm stuck outside. So the only wave I'm going to catch is the biggest wave of the day, or I have to go in.
That's right.
And risk getting, if I don't catch a wave, I get
pummeled.
Pummeled again. Yeah, exactly. And so I start talking to them. There's this young girl actually out there. And I'm like, so I can't remember. I got talking to her anyway. She said, we're waiting. What are you waiting for? She goes, we're waiting for it to get big. There's a competition supposed to be happening. It's supposed to start today, but the waves aren't big enough. I'm like, great. I'm out here terrified for my life on a boogie board, not even a surfboard. And then I finally made a wave in, and I rode it like straight. That's all I did, straight all the way to the beach. And I literally went up the sand, rolled over, and went, oh my God, I'm alive. Yeah, that's my surfing career.
Yeah, I didn't get to do any of that. So yeah, I did a lot of snorkeling. I would like to do some diving there, but we didn't have much time to do that either. So we drove around the entire island though. And at one point we were trying to look for, did you ever have any of that huli huli chicken?
I don't remember huli huli chicken, but there again, it was back a long time ago we were there.
Well, I mean, we didn't actually find any. So supposedly on the North Shore, there'll be people just set up with grills selling chicken, out in the middle of nowhere, like, from the back of the cars. And it's supposed to be amazing. So we were like looking around for it, didn't find any, drove around, and finally I saw this little store that had a big sign that said chicken on it. And at this point, I was a little hungry because it'd been a while, I'd been swimming.
Eyeballing every chicken by the side of the road.
So anyway, yeah. So I stopped in there. Another couple had stopped in right before me. And so I walked in, and the store was tiny. It was a teeny tiny store. It was really, it was actually called the I'm going to mispronounce this wrong. But it's like the Waikuni store. But he had chicken, and the people in front of me said that they had driven across the island because people had told them it was the best chicken on the island. I was like, well, now you sold me, because if this is the best chicken. It was really good chicken. But the guy behind the counter, and man, I've got his name. He followed me on this Instagram. He was immediately like, oh, wow. Asked me about my books and took pictures of me. So
that's so cool.
It was a really cool store. Yeah, it was really neat. He's like all over Instagram with pictures of people in his store, but it's the Waikuni store. So I followed him on Instagram. He was really cool, really nice guy. But if I was back there, I'd drive across the island to get that chicken too. It was really phenomenal. So, or I was starving. I don't know,
Yeah, one of the two. So we have to, the next missing in which is the Green Wolf series, but everything's missing in wherever. Maybe Hawaii. Because we've both been to Hawaii.
And North Shore, yeah.
It'd be a good excuse
to go back.
That's the key. Yeah. We get to go back.
We could go back, get a little cottage on North Shore and write us a book in like a couple of weeks.
I like your thinking. All right, what have you been writing at the minute?
Sure. Well, working on Missing the Keys. In fact, I think it's my turn around. You toss the football to me. I've got to get you going. I'm also trying to work on my next Chase Gordon book, which is Gulf Dreams. So that's been trying to work on that a little bit. And I've started a different series altogether. I'm doing a cozy mystery series with a new author. Yes, a cozy mystery. It's going to be exciting. It's one that's been rolling around the back of my head, and I don't really have the time to do it by myself. But I met this young author whose name is Sunspot Stovall. So she is doing some fantasy stuff right now, but she's a really great writer. So I've read some of her stuff and I was kind of excited about that. So you keep an eye on that. We don't have anything up. It won't probably be out until next year, but to be in a new series, we're trying to work on that and get her and me together and get that going. So we're kind of excited about doing that one too. So I think we're up to our question, are we not? We have a question of the day.
Yeah, we better move on. What do you got for a question?
Oh, this one comes from Jess Betts out of Beaverton, Oregon. And her question is, what is your favorite type of crustacean?
Crustacean.
Crustacean. Yes. Not your favorite crustacean, not like Sebastian from The Little Mermaid. It's your favorite type.
I guess I'm supposed to say a lobster because everyone likes to eat lobster, but I like lobster tacos, I have to say. But
lobster tacos are good. We had a place in Memphis that used to do lobster pronto pups.
What the heck's that?
It's you think about it, you know what a pronto pup is,
no
right?
Clue. Never heard of it.
No clue? Oh my gosh. You Brits don't know anything. It's a hot dog that
that's why.
They deep fry it in like funnel cake batter or something like that. It is fabulous. I don't it's served at like every festival. It's the Southern thing, I guess. Maybe I thought they had it everywhere.
No, they don't have it everywhere.
It's like a corn dog. You know what a corn dog is,
I do know what a corn dog is. I've managed to avoid them my whole life, yeah.
Oh, well, pronto pups are different. They're you can get them like regular size hot dog length, or you can get a foot long one and you smother it with like mustard or ketchup if you're gross, or I don't know what British people would smother it with, but I don't know. But anyway,
so the EMTs follow you with a defibrillator.
Probably, yes. Have you had a fried Twinkie or anything yet? No.
I think I had a fried Twinkie once. Yeah, I had a fried Twinkie.
Okay. Once. Anyway, so back to the lobster pronto pup was just it's the lobster tail. They deep batter it and fry it on a stick, so you can just eat it like that. It was really good.
Lobster,
but back to
lobster ass on a stick. Lovely.
Yes. But back to what is your favorite crustacean as we digress?
Yeah, that never happens on this show. All right. Let me think about that. So, I know. A horseshoe crab. You ever seen a horseshoe crab? They look like...
Oh, yeah.
They look like a mini armored car underwater. They're brilliant looking things.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Cool.
Unless you can swallow it whole, I think they're protected against every other thing. They're cool. And then slipper lobsters. Slipper lobsters are... they look like a slipper. Except they're not fuzzy and material. They're hard and what have you, and they're smaller than a regular lobster, but they're pretty cool looking too. Yeah. So what about you? You're what was your favorite? Did we cover that?
No, we didn't do mine yet. No, not yet. I mean, obviously for eating, honestly, I love blue crab, but for eating. But I'm going to tell you, my favorite crustacean is a crawdad. You know what a crawdad is?
I do know what a crawdad is.
You were familiar with that one too? Do y'all have those in the UK?
I don't know how. I think we do have them. I think they're called something else over there. But my wife's from Oklahoma, and whenever we go hiking,
she knows.
Whenever we go through a stream or anything, she turns into an 8-year-old kid and goes hunting for crawdads and holds them up at me like, look, I found one.
That's right. Well, I will tell you. So, only reason I say that was we love crawdads. We're in the South, but when I was one of my first jobs bartending was at the Peabody Hotel in Memphis. We had a raw bar, which was oysters and shrimp, but because of the South, we also had crawdads on it.
Raw.
And so
crawdads.
on really, yeah. No, they were cooked. They're all cooked, boiled. No, they weren't live, so, which is why it's weird to call it a raw bar because you cook the shrimp too. Yeah, but the only thing raw was the oysters. But I digress again. But the point is, we would on very, very slow nights take the crawdads and perform crawdad theater. Like those nights when nobody was in there, we'd be like, acting out like different scenes with our crawdad.
Oh man, can you imagine the crawdad? The poor guys, right? They're like, it's bad enough. We've got yanked out the river. We're going to be eaten alive or boiled.
Well, they were already dead and cooked at that point. But it was, we'd still play with them and stuff. It was, yeah.
All right, I think we better move on to the show.
Think so.
Yeah, we'll bring in some good sense. This one's a great one. So we're practicing different titles now. We tried titles, meaningful titles that never went anywhere. So this one's called Fish for Dinner because this guy has fish for dinner a lot. We do too, actually, but this chap does. His name's Daniel. He's better known as Adventureman Dan. If you follow him on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, he's a blogger, YouTuber. He's got a bazillion followers because he does this amazing traveling on his sailboat, and he's an incredible spearfisherman, I should say. So let's get to the interview with Adventureman Dan. Joining us today, Adventureman Dan, otherwise known to his friends as Daniel. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Nick.
So Dan, hey, how's it going? You gonna tell us a little bit about your boat, because I'm a boat guy, and that's really the first thing I want to know about.
Well, I think the most important thing about my boat is that the viewers know I love my boat. I truly do. She is my true love. I didn't always love her. I've often hated her, but I really love her now. Right now, my boat is, funny enough, if I was to get up from the studio right now, I could actually see my boat out in the lagoon here in St. Maarten. Yeah, so it's anchored in this beautiful spot. I currently have a life raft hanging from my dinghy davits, so it's a little easier to spot, because in only 1 week, the life raft has barnacles, like thousands of barnacles growing on it. So I said, no, I'm keeping this life raft. This is my little toy tent. I got it after a demo because it's expired, but it's just too much fun. I've been having too much fun with it. My boat itself, though, is a 1984 Beneteau Ideally. It's 11.5 meters or 37 point something feet. I've made a lot of custom modifications to it, like a folding swim platform off the back, which gives me effectively 2 more feet of highly usable boat space, which, I mean, highly. I can't imagine anybody who has an older boat, all the older styles, they just didn't make them very useful for getting in and out of the water. It's like you were only supposed to go from a dock to your boat, go sailing to the next dock, and it's just not my style. So yeah, I've done a lot to it. Got 1,000 watts of solar on board, fixed in place so it never moves no matter how bad the storms get. And that powers everything, all my electrical needs. Last year, built my own lithium-ion battery bank, and that powers everything. I've got a massive inverter to power my water maker. I've been supporting 2 friends of mine with their freshwater needs. So they come over with their jerry jugs and the little like Oliver outfit. And they go, please, sir, I want some more. And I'm like, clean the bottom of my boat and we'll talk. Actually, I should be saying that. The bottom of my boat is filthy. No, I've been there and I know how it is. So I'm over the moon to help them. And both these friends, also funny enough, their water consumption is hysterically low. Like, I've always been proud of mine, but like these guys are like Olympic competitors, and
they don't shower, they don't do anything.
Well, no, like they shower. Like one of them's younger. He's got a YouTube channel as well. I've been collaborating with him. It's Hoobs Vlog. He only uses saltwater. He just jumps in, does everything in the ocean, jumps out, and then just towels off. I like to have a freshwater rinse. I don't like to have salt left on my body. I think it helps if you towel off as opposed to like air dry. So it's a lot of times you'll be doing a board sport or something, and I'll just have all this salt just accumulating on me. So it's kind of a bit different. But yeah, no, it's great. He was over my boat yesterday getting, I think, like 10 gallons. And then he's like, do you mind if I like do a shower as well? I'm going to film that. And I'm like, yeah, buddy, whatever floats your boat, so. So the day in paradise, is some other grungy solo sailor, showering on my boat. It's paradise. What can I say?
I do remember your swim platform, and I also have a Catalina 30, which is terrible for getting in and out of the water because they don't put a swim platform in. And I have looked at your swim platform, and I have plans to design my own to kind of hang off the back so I can get in and out of the water, so my wife's daughter can lay out and float or whatever. So I thought that was a brilliant thing that you did there. So.
I started from the ground up on it. I've always had the philosophy of sail your boat for a little bit, then refit it a little bit, refit it, sail it, refit it, sail it. Because you actually know what you need. If you just think, oh, hey, if I just kind of went with I'm going to refit my boat how I think is good. I kid you guys not, I was going to put oars on my boat, like big oars. And I was going to have like a spot for like my seat. And I was like when my motor dies, I'm just going to row it. Funny enough, I actually was originally, I had a school of thought of either getting a Catalina 30 size boat in Southern California and sailing that thing into a ground. And I figured get them cheap because people want to get rid of them because there's so many of them. They don't want to maintain them, which is understandable. The other option then was get a boat that could be my forever boat. My boat kind of hit on the smaller side of what I thought I needed for my forever boat. Turns out, especially with the way that I've modified it, the bed cockpit makes a huge difference as well. My cockpit, I can turn it in and out of a bed or however I want to do it with these boards I put down. And then my cushions just go right onto it. So it's been a lot of really cool innovations. But yeah, I get a lot of comments from a lot of sailors. So how did you make this swim platform? And I started out with my ladder, my swim ladder, which all boats have that on the back. And I strapped the board to it. Not a particularly well-shaped board. I think it was 6 feet by, yes, it was like 3 feet by, no, it was 4 feet by 3 feet, which is not the shape of a swim platform, folks. Like we want long rectangles. We do not want anything resembling a square. I put deck paint on it. It was a piece of plywood. I put deck paint on it because that's what they recommended at Home Depot. I sailed the Florida Keys during COVID and found out that it did eventually break away. And everybody said like, oh, it'll only last for like a month or two. No, it lasted for a year, technically. Just horribly, dissolving away. And by the way, this is supported by my aftermarket dinghy davits. And then for swim platform 2.0, as I call it, I then had the bigger structure I do now, the proper aluminum structure. That's my bimini as well as my dinghy davits. And that then supports swim platform 2.0, which was actually shaped to the back of the boat. It was effectively a 2 foot by 6 foot rectangle that I then kind of shaped the sides. Otherwise, when you put it up, the corners would have just been digging into the water if you had any heel to your boat, which would have been kind of funny. And I like that one a lot. And then, but the downside with that was I was still using the ladder underneath, and I could see I was deforming the transom of my boat because it's very thin back there. The structural needs is all like the actual bottoms, things like that. The corners of it is where the structure is, not the big flat side. So I decided I need to build what I later learned is called a boss. It's the fun of doing all this stuff and having no idea is all the learning you get to do. And first thing you got to learn is the name of these things. So boss is something that goes on the back that gives you a straight angle, straight edge. Because otherwise, the back of my boat was curved on both the X and the Y axis. So it's pretty hard to figure that out. So anyway, I built my own boss using various methods of build it and measure it, build it and measure it, cut it 3 times, and then measure it and then build it again. But it worked. The thing is as solid as can be. And I've got swim platform 3.0 on there now, which was almost perfect. I should have wrapped it with fiberglass is something I did realize, but I didn't care because I needed to go, and I now know it's the perfect shape and everything else. So swim platform 4.0 will be built when I put my boat in Grenada.
How long have you been at sea or traveling through the islands? When did you leave home in the States?
Yeah, so I bought my boat back in 2018 after I think I had spent roughly 9 months learning to sail at a yacht club and did some delivery, stuff like that, and sailed my boat down. So I bought it back in 2018, I think September 2018. So I've been living full-time on the boat for the last 4 years. As far as actual time that I've been sailing, it varies because, like I said, I would go sailing for a bit. I would do, longer missions, figure out what my capabilities were, both physically, and mentally, emotionally, and what my boat's capabilities were. And like I was saying with water, for example, like having to always go someplace with a jerry jug, fill it up and pour it in a tank. And man, it just sucks so bad. So anyway, yeah. So I do these refits. So anyway, so I've gone on and off over the last 4 years, but recently, right now, I left. Last time my boat was attached to anything was at a boatyard in Fort Pierce, Florida. It looked like a junkyard. It was a great place. I don't have poetic words to describe it this morning.
It's all boatyards, isn't it? They all look like junkyards.
No, this one's special, man. This one, there's many boats that have trees growing out of them. Just to give you an idea, not intentional trees too. So I know there was a unique place, but I left there. I think it was mid-June, mid to late. Yeah, I think it was like June 20th or so last year, 2022. I guess that would be. So I'll be approaching just a year, pretty much nonstop. I think I've been to a dock, like a marina, since then. I think a collective 4 or 5 days in the last 10 months now, or something like that. I'm not great at math or calendars. Not my strong suit. The point is yeah, I've gotten very good at living out on the ocean and just really enjoying it. And at this point now, with how well my boat's set up, it's uncomfortable for me to be at a marina. There's just no need. I don't need the water that's there. I don't need the internet that's there. I do need to do laundry. That is one thing I definitely would be wise to do here soon. So,
well, what do you think are like some of the challenges that you faced since what were unexpected things that when you got out there, you're like, this is no problem. All of a sudden you went, wow, I didn't think about that.
I think the first one is, I was doing a solo, and I think the first challenge is that getting into a good cruising rhythm. Right now I've been in St. Maarten for probably approaching a month now. Didn't really intend on doing that, but I absolutely love it here. In the past, when I first got my boat, like I'm thinking of the first time I sailed to the Bahamas. I was only there for 3 months, but I was mentally and emotionally exhausted by the end of that 3 months because I was moving so often. I wasn't picking great anchorages. I didn't know how to pick my weather windows as well. I always want to mention and give a shout out to my original sailing mentor, Don Radcliffe, back in Santa Cruz, California. He was wonderful to talk to and to get feedback from and do everything else from. Ultimately, you have to do it and you have to make certain mistakes. So, and that's, I think, the mistake that I made versus now, like I said, I know I do want to put my boat up on the hard, probably around August or so and take a break from the boat for a little bit. But it's more because I need to refresh my perspective. I need to, remember why I do this, remember why I love this. Because I don't think you can do anything 24/7, 365 and keep that same ever burning passion for it. It doesn't matter if you're a chef, if you're a musician, anything like that. You got to take at least a little bit of a break just to give your mind a minute to, come back around. So yeah, and as far as the challenges, I think that I first faced, it was just moving constantly and being just exhausted, going to get water and being exhausted and not knowing where I could get food, where the groceries were, stores were, and everything that way. So,
I was going to ask you about food. Now, you're a big spear fisherman, so anyone watching this, you got to check out his YouTube channel, and he's a very accomplished spear fisherman. So, obviously, you catch fish yourself, but in the middle of the open ocean, that's a tad more challenging than when you're near an island in shallow water, right? Or do you find them in open ocean?
Me personally, I am adverse to hook and line fishing. Let's break it down like this. If you go to the grocery store to get your food, truth be told, that's not really that sustainable. Like, I don't want to come off like one of those vegans that's telling you that everything you're doing is wrong, but I'm just, honestly, think about if you get a fish at the store, like the process that it took to get that fish to the supermarket. The guys going out in huge ships, that are doing commercial fishing. And with commercial fishing, there's always bycatch. With spearfishing, there is no bycatch. I know exactly what I'm getting. The closest thing to bycatch I've had is more than a few times I've speared something that had something in its stomach that,
yeah.
And I remember one time in California, I speared a cabezon and it had a small abalone in its stomach, which was really cool because that was the only legal way I could have eaten an abalone there. And I sure did. We got 4 bites. It was a very small abalone. We got 4 bites out of it. So when you're sailing across the ocean, so I think in my sailboat, I don't think I've even done a double overnight. I think I've only done single overnighters because in that time frame, if I get up early in the morning and I go through the day, through the night, into the next day, there's no way I'm not going to clear, 180 nautical miles probably that way. And there's no jump you have to make from the United States as a whole, at least on the East Coast. I'd have to double check the West Coast, but at least the East Coast as a whole, all the way through the Bahamas, all the way down the chain, Turks and Caicos, Dominican Republic, U.S., especially Spanish Virgin Islands, U.S. Virgin Islands, British Virgin Islands, now to here, St. Maarten, and then down the chain. The largest jump I think you have to make is either Samana Bay, across the Mota Passage to Puerto Rico, which I did that one solo. And I think that's like 125 nautical miles, maybe, might be a bit more. Or might be Turks and Caicos to Luperon, Dominican Republic. I think that was about the same distance as well. That one I just didn't catch that on a good weather window. But for all of those, you don't need to go too far. So I look at it as when I go for those jumps, I'm not fishing. That's one day. I'm going to focus on sailing and focus on relaxing. When I get to the place, or before I was at the place, that I was coming from, that's when I'm going out to the reef. I'm doing my spearfishing. However, if you are doing long distance sailing, you want to troll a line behind you. It's a really easy way to, if you know what you're doing, even if you don't know what you're doing, it's a really easy way to catch a mahi, a tuna, you name it. There's quite a few options to catch something that way. And then the other way too, that's really fun to do, but I feel this happens more in higher nutrient dense waters like the Pacific. Like not all parts of the Pacific, but many parts of the Pacific where we have large bait balls congregating. And what I'm excited to be doing later is to be sailing along, see these large congregations of bait because the fish will be hitting it from the surface, bring the boat up, lock the helm all the way over, kill the engine, jump in with the spear gun or the pole spear and go diving in. And I've done that actually, both in Andros. I remember I did that off of a buoy, and it was just me and like 100 sharks. There was no fish. It was,
oh my God.
Yeah, and they were ready to tax me too. They were, as it's called, the taxman. They're ready to jump on it. I've done it a few times where I've been solo sailing and I'll get off the boat in the in the open water, and it's definitely a rush. Last time I did it was I think it was Cat Island, Bahamas, and south of there is a pinnacle called the Tartar Bank. It's out in the open ocean, and it's like 6,000 feet deep everywhere. And then this pinnacle comes up to 70 feet. So I just one day took the boat out there, hopped overboard, locked the helm all the way over, dropped my sails, turned the engine off. And I just went free diving all the way down to the bottom. I got this really cool, it's one of my favorite photos. I'm down at 70 feet and I'm like pointing up at my boat, as I'm doing it, getting this selfie shot. You just see like this hole, like way the heck up there. It's cool. I'd like to do it again too. And a funny story too with that is that when I was at the surface doing my breathe up next to my boat, it was, fairly calm. When I went down, I was down for about a minute and a half before I came back up. I was just taking my time. I come up and it's raining and the wind's starting to come up.
Oh my God.
And so it did make me think. I was like, man, if you didn't, check your surroundings for, storm clouds, possible for the wind to pick up by the time you come up. But that's why I locked the helm. If any amount of wind did come that could push the boat in any substantial way, it's going to bring it, side to. And there's no way with my long blades on that I'm not going to be able to outswim my boat.
So, Daniel, obviously you're on a journey. I mean, a physical journey in your sailboat. You're traveling around all over the place, and you're going to move on from St. Maarten and go down to another fantastic island. But do you have an idea of where you're going philosophically and in your life, where you see this ending up, or is it a journey you're just on the ride of, or do you have a goal at the end of it, or what do you see? Like, the really boring question is, where do you see yourself in 10 years? But it's actually interesting living a life that you do. That is an interesting question.
Yeah, no, because I mean, literally every day I can do anything I want. I'm probably one of the most free people on the face of the planet, which is kind of a funny thing to think about. I don't have a significant other that I'm beholden to. There's no children. I barely pay my taxes. I'm just free as a bird. So it's something I do think about is, where do I want to go? Like I said, I do want to take a break from the boat. I do like to sail. I do like to spearfish. I recently learned how to ride a motorcycle, and now I'm like, I want to go to a random country, and do a motorcycle trip across it. I was talking with Hoop about this the other day, and I think what I might do is put together some sort of like an adventure bucket list, like a big overarching one, and have some people contribute to it. And the thing is, the list will never be done, is what I'm imagining. It won't be a list. It'll be an ever-evolving list. There'll always be items brought onto it and always items going over to the done list. There'll always be two lists.
Yeah.
The done list to help me remember what I've already done and have accomplished, and then the other list to help push me towards something. Honestly, I'd love to go to space. That like I would absolutely kill for that. I genuinely and truly, I'm happy I picked the name I did, Adventureman Dan, because it really does say what I just want adventure. If at some point somebody says, hey man, I know this guy who's working on the deepest diamond mine in Russia, I'll be like, you know what? Let's go check it out. Let's go do it. That sounds like a blast. I like water related stuff. I feel the adventures I just love the ocean. And there's so many encounters I've had in there. I mean, you look at the ocean with sharks, for example, like I can go up and I can get a hand on an apex predator. You don't do that on land. You don't go pet a bear. more than once. It's wild, so it's pretty cool for that. But as far as that goes, I feel like I don't yet have the language or the idea to describe where it is I want to end up. I want it to be something that's not on my radar. And I feel that. I do feel that there is something out there for me that I'm going to get to it and be like, wow, this is really it. And it might be not so much along the lines of my own journey, of my own adventure, but it might be more me mentoring other people, becoming a motivational speaker, becoming a life coach. I would love to do that, but I would definitely do it in a unique way. I don't want to make a lot of money in life. I like the idea instead of, I don't know, maybe everybody who wants to join my life coach, inspirational talk thing, you give me a goal, I become your life mentor, and that money, you get it back if you actually complete your goal. If not, it goes towards the other people. Something unique. And I feel like that'd be a more interesting way to go through life is, it's not just about money for me, because I live off of very, very little, and all my boat, everything's very cheap. And actually, you know what? I'll bring up one other thing then. This will probably be aired probably after I've done it. But to give you an example of fun, interesting things I like to try to be going after is I just created something I'm calling the Sailor Samaritan Charity. I partnered up with a marine store called Island Water World here on St. Maarten, and they have several other stores on several islands of the Caribbean. But they have basically what West Marine should have is what they have there. They're what West Marine is supposed to be. I'll say it like that. You can dinghy to every one of their stores. That's one thing where they don't want me putting down other stores, but I can say whatever I want on this podcast, so I'll say that. Anyway, long story short, though, I worked with them. So now I have a charity that I made where I'm going to just go help other sailors. They've given me a several $1,000 account with them that I'm going to find sailors that need a water pump. They need a windlass. They need whatever. And I'm just going to be helping them out. I've got one guy already who doesn't have a ditch bag, an emergency ditch bag for his boat. So probably sometime within the next week, I'm going to be taking him there, building him out a ditch bag and helping him that way. So
the boating community is so vastly different than so many others in that sense of just, it's a lot like the author community too. It really is having being in both. It's just very much, we're willing to help each other and in a heartbeat, just jump up and do whatever. It'd be nice if the rest of the world was like that.
No, and you're absolutely right. And I think of it as sort of like the Alaska principle. Like when I was up in Alaska, and I was in Southeast Alaska. I wasn't in like Alaska. Like, because even the Southeast Alaskans, they're like, no, you got to go way further. But people there, they'll help each other. Something goes wrong, like you're very likely to get them to help you. Like the New York City mentality. If you have a flat, you better fix it or pay someone to go fix it.
Yeah.
That's it. And I think that's why it is that way in the sailing community. The people are their nicest when you're off grid. I can just go dinghy over somebody. I think it's rude. Honestly, like I don't think highly of a sailor, if I go over, and not that they know me like that, but just you go over, you chow them for a minute, and they're usually like, hey, come on up, have a drink, have some snacks. Because there is that, hey, we might need each other. Versus in regular life, when you see a stranger, the odds of you needing them are fairly slim. And usually if somebody else says they need you, it's probably a scam. They probably have bad intentions. That's kind of just how it goes. With the sailing community, you can do that once and word would get around very, very quickly that you're a bad actor. And man, then if something does actually go wrong with you on your boat and you're out there and no other sailor is going to help you, you are done.
That has to be it. Yeah, that's not a good situation to get yourself into,
No.
right? So I want to talk to you a little bit as we move on here about your writing, because obviously you write a lot. You're a blogger. So you've got a lot of words out there on the internet already, right?
Yeah, I've been progressing with it, especially over the last, 6 months or so. I've been dedicating a bit more. I think it started out with originally, I got my first GoPro and that's what started all this. And I wanted to film spearfishing videos. And I had all this content, but I wrote up like a script and I narrated it. I put the epic music and bump. So I kind of had a passion for that, but I never put out things just as writing. Facebook became an evolving medium for me because I was able to have these photos and talk about them and share the story. And the more I progressed, the more it evolved, it turned into instead, I'd post a photo more to have visualized the emotion of the article that I was writing up. Most recently, I wrote up a large article on, I called it the truth of my feelings. And it was basically about what it feels like to be alone out here. In particular, after being, I wrote it, I think, an hour or two after I had been with friends on a big catamaran and had the best day ever, but I had this feeling of emptiness. And so I wrote about it there and was very truthful. And my audience is certainly responding to it. which is wonderful, and I put out a lot of very raw emotions that I have on there. And it's very rare on Facebook to have people be so receptive to raw emotions. It's
true. Yeah.
Yeah. I've definitely been on the bitter end of that, but no, it's been wonderful. So I am, to answer your question, I think I am trying to develop myself as a bit more of a writer as well. But I still love video editing. I love photo editing, kitting the photos, and being on podcasts too, because that's really, podcasts are the greatest medium of all.
Until we got hold of it.
That's right. Yeah.
So the emotional ups and downs of what you're doing, I mean, that's part of, I would guess, why you do it, why you want to sail solo, why you want to be alone on an ocean, why you want to be put yourself in some of the positions that you put yourself in, right? I mean, it's a roller coaster of emotions, but you're looking for some of that, right? You want some highs, and then you want some calming, and then you want some highs. Do you find you're constantly... Do you seek that out, or does this naturally evolve? How do you find it?
Sometimes I just want a normal Tuesday, It's just, it feels kind of... No, what's funny, actually, as you're saying the roller coaster, I've actually realized as I focus on things, as I look at my life a little bit more objectively, that I'm actually looking forward to my next down. But right now, I mean, this past month in St. Maarten has been just phenomenal. I have truly very little to complain about. I don't even have what I've coined, actually, I don't think I coined the term, but what I love to use is a term, high quality problems. I'm actually running out of high quality problems, that's kind of scary. I don't know what's going to happen after that. And high quality problems, for those of you listening, those are things like, oh no, if I have 3 different women that want to go out with me tonight, which one am I going to choose? Oh, what do I do? That's not a problem. That's a high quality problem.
That's
a high quality problem.
That's bragging is what I hear. So,
well, I try to keep it to myself. But anyway, no. So yeah, but I'm curious, because I am going to leave here soon, and I'm excited for the challenges I'm going to face. I often think about my boat sinking, for example, not in the sense of worrying anymore, but more of kind of looking forward to it in the sense of, if I can look forward to bouncing back after my boat sinking, I'm indomitable. Nothing can put me down. And I get very excited thinking about that, and as I've gotten into journaling as well, I've kind of written up my own template for this quick. I don't want to write out in the morning. I can type for hours, but handwriting I've never been good at. So, but I want to do it for journaling. So I just do. I think I only have to do. It helps me kind of focus and visualize what it is I want to be doing, the direction I'm going with things. So I know that there will be struggles ahead, and I'm trying to, I guess, look forward to them as much as I can, so I can learn. Because you don't learn when you win all the time. You learn when you get knocked on your ass, and you got to figure out how to stand back up. And I think most of us, oftentimes in life, we get knocked on our ass, we sulk about it. We eventually, one way or another, hopefully come back up, for those of us that do bounce back up again. And then we look back on it as thank God for that downturn. But for me, I'm trying to see if I can. I don't want to be too excited about it, but I do. I look forward to the next time I get my ass kicked. I look forward to the next time I get an injury. I don't even get injured that often, honestly. It's more breaking stuff and all right, knock on wood, but I'm going to say it now here and loud. I'm looking forward to my next electrical gremlin. I'm going to dive in. I'm going to figure it out.
You're a madman.
I know.
As I've got an air conditioner out on my boat if you want to come, figure that one out for me. So
I've already got it solved for you. You ready for this? No air conditioner on the boat. It's that simple.
My wife likes the air conditioners, so it's kind of tough. But yeah.
Like you don't.
Oh well.
don't blame it on Ashley. You love that air conditioner.
I know. I'll sit out in the cockpit with just nothing on. But the marina people, they don't like that.
The marina people, yeah.
They're always like, put something on. A towel will be nice, whatever. So I can't.
We're getting too much naked on this show. The Annie Dyke intro ventured into naked. There was too much of that. Have you got a good naked story, Daniel?
Oh yeah. How? What am I allowed to say on here before I get too far into it?
It's pretty much open, but I mean,
Shoot, I was getting some extracurricular miles out of that life raft I've been playing with lately. So so there's that. I don't know, but. My all-time naked story would probably be the reason the knuckles, my pinky and ring finger knuckle on my right hand are lopsided, because I had a girl. I was sharing a house. I had my own room downstairs, and had this girl over. This is a couple lifetimes back for me. So this was before I was Adventureman Dan, But yeah, so she's on the bed and she's naked and I just done this striptease for her, so I'm butt naked, and my door just flies open all of a sudden, and it's my housemate who never communicated this to me, but apparently did not want me to have any women over, but never communicated this to me in any way. And I'm like, I'm paying my rent, so I can't imagine what the problem would be. But that's not what I'm thinking about in the moment. What I'm thinking about in the moment is it felt like the zombie apocalypse came out, because this guy was like 5 feet tall, and I happily stand just barely 6 foot, so I'm not huge, but I'm not tiny either, and at the time I was working out like it was my job. I was very, very, very solid. And I never thought about fighting this guy because it just didn't seem logical to me. Like, what's going to happen? I'm going to throw this guy around the house. Like, no problem. So he tries to come in like a zombie, and I guess he was punching me. I didn't really notice much because it's tiny. I think he started scratching. I had all these like deep, I was like bleeding by the end. I had all these scratch marks on me. But yeah, I tried to hold him up against the wall, and I'm like, you need to calm down. And he wasn't calming down. So I dropped one right hook in the dark at this point, because the light got turned off in our scrap, and connected just right at the temple. I'm not a professional boxer here, so I didn't quite, the force was there, but I think that, if I had gotten him a little bit more with my my middle knuckle and my index finger knuckle, would have done better. So it broke the two outer ones there. And the funny thing is, though, is he collapsed like a bag of potatoes, just flops down. And I instinctively put him into I guess that'd be like a front chokehold, kind of one of these. I know viewers can't see it. But the funny thing is like, his face and little Daniel was, they might have had a meeting during that, I mean, might have got a little boop on the nose, not intentionally, anyway. So obviously I had to get a different apartment after that, and
I would think so.
Yeah. And we don't have all day for this, but funny enough, I mean, I didn't have to fight my next housemate, but I was in Santa Cruz. I must have moved like 5 times in, I think, like 8 months when I was living in Santa Cruz. And I'm sure at least some part of that was my fault, but man, that was not a stable living situation. So now I look at living on a sailboat, in the middle of nowhere, just open ocean around me whenever. And I'm like, oh yeah, this makes way more sense than just all the ridiculous stuff.
Nobody barges in on a sailboat in the middle of the ocean, do they? So
I feel a great swell of pity for anybody who comes to my boat uninvited. I'll just say that, I keep it well stocked, and I'm not going to ask 2 questions if anybody's on my boat without. Yeah, I think like any sailor. But the funny thing with that story too is I kept training, even though my knuckles were broken. I remember I was doing swim training, and I would just tuck one hand. I would do a lead arm scull as I was doing, like a mile or so combat side stroke, and I'd be out there swimming and stuff, and. So don't let anything put you down. Doesn't matter who it is. And I didn't tell it. I knew it at the time, but I didn't bother telling this guy because I figured he didn't deserve it. But if you do get hit that hard and you do get knocked out and you do have a gash on the side of your head because you went unconscious from a blow, don't go to sleep immediately, because this all happened at 3 a.m., So
oh my gosh.
He went back to sleep immediately, and that's really, really bad for the brain. That is not medically recommended. There's a lot of lessons to be learned there. A lot of lessons.
Number one is, if a guy called Daniel applies for the job as your roommate, double check if he's on YouTube as Adventureman Dan.
Well, just have open communication. If you don't want there to be girls in the house, don't get jealous about it. I don't know.
Yeah, don't bust into the middle of it. That's straight up blocking at that point. And, and you deserved every bit of that. So
what was really funny too is it was that girl's last night as a civilian. She went to boot camp. I mean, hours after that, she went to boot camp. Yeah, you never know. You never know out there. And adventure does seem to find you one way or another if you don't sit on the couch. That would be the other thing you were saying.
Cool. All right. We've been going for almost 40 minutes. So let's bring out the last question of the interview here, which Doug has prepared.
This is our wheel of questions. Yeah,
See, we actually have one. It makes noise and everything.
Yeah, I think you should have a little app that like makes a noise, and the viewers don't know it.
That would have been easier, but somebody's like, "No, we need a wheel." So I'm like, okay, he's in St. Maarten. I carry a wheel around, so
everywhere it goes that we do this, he has to carry the damn wheel with him.
I'm gonna forget it one day. I'm gonna have an extra wheel somewhere, so All right, here we go. It's got the cool sound. All right, our question is, what did you have for breakfast?
No, that's a great one, actually. I can tie that in. I can talk about that for another hour. I have a great morning routine. I wake up. I sit out in my cockpit bed with some sort of fruit. This last week, the oranges have been really good here. So a nice, big, tasty orange and a glass of water. Get hydrated. I let my mind kind of, just wake up to the day as the sun rises, eat the orange, then immediately have some salmon. I like to have smoked salmon in the morning. Then I do my morning stretch, roll out, workout, reflex training, which at the moment is it's actually really good for boxing. It's a basically like a elastic band strapped to your head with a foam ball on it, and you just kind of box at it. And then once I'm done with that, I do a post-workout, deep stretch, and then have a whey protein shake with a banana and a chunk of fresh ginger that I put into it, and a multivitamin pill. It's very important.
Wow, I had a McGriddle, so
same, but different.
Right? Yeah.
All right, it's been fantastic having you on. We literally could talk for hours.
Yes,
You've got a lot of great stories and stuff. So maybe down the road, we'll have you on if we end up on the same island again, we'll do it again.
Yeah, well, as you now know, is get me to shut up is a trick.
Well, it's been great having you on, man. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for listening in to the show with Adventureman Dan. Daniel is certainly a very interesting guy. And what a life. I mean, intense, right? I mean, he is maximizing. I think I'm doing okay on the living the dream part, but this guy is taking it to the next level.
He is indeed, yes. So remember, everybody, to subscribe to the show. Please, if you can, give us a 5-star review. Those really help. It also boosts our ego a little bit, and we like that. And make sure you check out the show notes for links to our books and social media. We'll put everything in about Adventureman Dan, his links to his YouTubes and everything, and anything else we might have mentioned during the show. And remember, we don't have a Patreon or anything like that, so the best way to support the show, other than giving us a 5-star review and subscribing, is to buy or gift our books, which are available all over Amazon.
Next, I'm mega excited about the next guest. So her name is Jill Heineth, and anyone that's into diving has heard that name. She's a tech and cave diver explorer. She's the author of Into the Planet, My Life as a Cave Diver, which is a phenomenal nonfiction book. I've read it about 1.5 years ago, I think. I mean, it's jaw-dropping. Like, I'm laying in bed at night and my heart is pounding as she's describing some of the stuff that she's doing. Ridiculous in these caves in Mexico and in an iceberg in Antarctica, diving basically a cave through an iceberg. It's insane. So she's a cool lady. She's also got some children's books that she did, which is kind of completely the opposite, right? It's radical, the life on the edge stuff over here. And then she wrote some children's books. So that's she's an environmentalist and all that kind of thing. So anyway, she'll be the next guest. So watch that out in a couple of weeks. So until then, be cool to each other.
And fair winds and following seas.
You've been listening to the Two Authors Chat Show with Nicholas Harvey and Douglas Pratt.